Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
Yes, can you hear me? This is Drew.
Hey Drew, this is Amanda. I was expecting us to have a bit of elevator theme music to get the party started, but I guess Twitter's having some issues today. Glad the space is still happening.
Absolutely. We'll make it work no matter what Twitter throws at us.
Yeah, thank God we got the reminder tweet out there though. It all worked out in the end. So I guess we'll just wait maybe another 2-ish minutes because I know we opened this up a little bit late. Just wait for more people to sort of jump in.
Are you there, Noah?
I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect.
Where are you guys calling from today?
I'm in Seattle, Washington, in the US.
Nice.
And I'm in LA. What about
Lovely West
what
Coast.
about you, Amanda?
The other side of the world in South Korea.
Wow, I'll be flying to Asia tonight and we'll be in South Korea in out of like 6 weeks from now. We'll be up in South Korea.
Perfect. So if you guys are based in LA and Seattle, are you the owners of those cities in the game?
That's a good question. So I don't think Seattle has been minted yet, so it's still out there somewhere to be had. And then I think that's the same case as LA, right, Drew?
I think that's right. And I'm actually not based in LA. We're just here just flying out tonight out of LAX. So that's what brought me here today.
Okay, but some great opportunities because those are some big cities.
Yeah, there are a lot of big ones still out there. So
Okay, well, I guess we can just get started because we already kind of have. Please, yeah, introduce us to the overall the game and a bit of the backstory if you guys don't mind.
love it. I'd be glad to do that. So Noah and I are both Web two software developers and entrepreneurs. We were actually college roommates, so we've been working on projects together since we went to hackathons during college. We built and sold a Web two startup together, and have just remained friends. And so, one trip, Noah was out visiting, and NFTs were kind of the thing going on at the time. And so I've been into crypto a long time. Noah had gotten into crypto, and we were just talking like, oh, this is interesting. We should figure out what's going on with this NFT thing. And so we didn't take it too seriously up front, but then just started trying to think through ideas. What would be an interesting NFT project? What were the weaknesses of existing NFT projects? and uh, and didn't come up with anything for a little while, but eventually came up with City Clash, and so City Clash kind of addressed a lot of problems that we saw in the NFT space. And so the first problem we saw, there were a lot of promises that were being made, and people were expected to just mint based on those promises. And so with City Clash, we were intent that we were going to have a finished game ready to go as soon as people were minting, that they could play right away. um, we were we were discouraged at the like low effort kind of art going on with a lot of the profile picture projects. And so City Clash, we were excited to offer dynamic NFTs that had these images that changed as cities were captured and countries were captured, and it made something really cool that we hadn't seen before. And so Noah, do you want to just give a high level of what City Clash is, what it is we've built?
Yeah, and just for some context, we started City Clash, like started building it over a year ago, and we launched it, I think like 9 months ago is when we had the mint of City Clash. And so kind of a quick overview of the game, what City Clash is each NFT is a city, and the cities are actually like the game pieces of the game. So it's kind of a game that's built around the trading of NFTs, and we've kind of created a way to incentivize people to trade around these cities. And there's actually like a goal as well, and that's in that there's three different factions: the red, green, and blue faction. When you kind of join City Clash, you automatically join a faction, and those are kind of your teammates. and you're working together to gain the most points in the game. And the way you do that is by working together, collaborating together with your team to take over countries. And countries are worth a certain amount of points, and whoever has the most points is kind of winning the game. And then we
Can
have
I
this whole
ask?
kind of go
So
ahead.
can I ask about the factions? Was that inspired by Mortal Kombat?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
Unless Drew, it was secretly for you. But no, we just really like the idea of collaboration within the game, and people working together.
Okay, that was very reminiscent of Mortal Kombat. So like one of the first things is choose your faction. So what's
Mm-hmm.
speaking of the factions, who's winning right now, and sort of what is the algorithm for which faction um, you get entered into when you first join the game?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Red Gang is winning. I'm kind of like the leader of the Red faction, so I'm proud to say that we've been winning for a little bit here. The algorithm. So before our mint, we had our OGs. We populated our Discord up, and we're hyping things up. And at that point, we let people choose what factions they were going to join. And then we had a big extra group of community members coming in the last couple of weeks before the mint. Those people got automatically assigned factions with this faction balancing Discord bot, so that people would come in and the bot would know which factions needed more people. And so that was just trying to keep things balanced up front. As soon as we minted, factions locked. That if you weren't on an existing faction, or then if you didn't hold an NFT, you were no longer on any associated with any faction. And then you only get associated with a faction by buying or minting a city. And so once you buy or mint a city, you automatically get assigned to the losing faction, and that's one of the factors that bolsters the losing faction. And so that's been working lately. Blue has been down pretty bad for a little while, but as we've gotten a decent amount of volume on Arbitrum, we started getting some activity and attention in the last couple of weeks, and a few more new blue members have come and popped up, which has been great. But that's how you get assigned a faction. I think the only thing I missed, like at the beginning, you were allowed to recruit and invite your friends to be part of your own faction, but that's not possible now because we can't have just people inviting others only to the winning faction, because it would get out of balance pretty quick.
Oh, I see. And what is the balance like at this point? So Red Knight's winning. I think this means all the listeners here, Red Knight going down. We gotta join another faction and try to beat them. But I want to see like what the sort of the spread is.
Yeah, so the Red faction has been a bit dominant for a little while, and that was one of the things, we're just kind of learning as the game was going on. How can we balance the game effectively to make it fun? And so kind of the new members joining the game, joining the losing faction, that was kind of one of those main balancing factors we had from the beginning. But we basically learned like, okay, we need to have a little bit more mechanics here to balance it even better. And so actually just recently we just added a new flip pot, we call it. So there's different incentives in the game to make people, want to win. And so the first one for the winning faction, every week we have a raffle that goes off, and the raffle will randomly pick somebody, but someone that's been more active in the game. Maybe they've done more transactions, they've helped out their team more. They have more chance of winning the raffle, and so that's kind of an incentive to kind of get the teams to do well. And then the winning team is the only team that is basically put into that raffle. So that's kind of incentive put there that puts teams against each other, makes them want to win. So this new flip pot is kind of another incentive that we just added recently, where once the second place team flips the first team, they get this big reward pool of magic and ETH that's been growing over time. And every week that no one flips the first team, that pot just keeps getting bigger. So the incentives keep growing. And so that's kind of a new balancing mechanism to kind of just make it valuable for people to want to kind of beat the first team and kind of balance the game more and make it kind of fun and interesting.
Nice. And so what was the, sorry to jump back to this point, but I asked you guys if there was any inspiration in terms of just the faction from Mortal Kombat, but in terms of the overall game, what were the sort of references you took from other, gaming experiences you've had in your lives?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I see City Clash as a combination of Risk, Settlers of Catan, and poker. So obviously, poker by itself is a fun game, but what makes people coming back over and over again is the chance to win real money, putting their real money at stake, and the chance to make that money bigger. And so City Clash does that really well, and I'm excited to jump into the economics behind City Clash because that's one of the things that I'm most proud of about it. But it's also a lot like Risk. You've got this world map. Risk is just based on countries. It doesn't get down to the city level. City Clash doesn't have soldiers like Risk does. There's no direct like fights or battles that are going on other than just the trading of the NFTs to capture countries strategically. And then Catan, I think my favorite part of Catan is the negotiating. And so in City Clash, there's negotiating between factions, trying to make deals to flip countries that help both factions. But there's also strategizing with your team, trying to figure out what you guys what your team can do, your faction can do to take over countries by yourselves. And so it's a lot about making compelling arguments for what actions your faction members should take with you. So those are the inspirations that I see for City Clash.
And have there been, some big debates like within factions that you guys have witnessed about where sort of the trajectory of the strategy should go?
I think the most compelling thing that we have seen are these big swaps where there's a dominant faction and then the two factions that are losing might say, all right, if we give each other these two strategic cities in these two countries, we're going to flip both of these countries away from the best faction and give them to our factions to get us that much closer back. That's the best I think that I can think of so far. Do you have anything to add to that one, Noah?
No, yeah, I think that's a good one. Like it's kind of interesting how the game dynamically changes where there's certain cities that may have not been important a week or two ago in the fight over a country, but all of a sudden because of, maybe someone minting some new cities or some different changing of hands between factions, all of a sudden a city can become really valuable in the gameplay of like now the city could be the changing factor of if a country is owned by red or blue or just things like that. And so it's been interesting to see how fast things can change where a faction kind of works together a little bit and someone buys a certain city and all of a sudden they own all of China, which is worth a lot more because it's a pretty big country, and then they take the lead or just different interesting like things like that have happened.
Nice. That's very heartwarming to hear that everyone's been kind of working together. And yeah, I guess not true to the name. There hasn't been a lot of clashes within the factions themselves. Is what I would have more expected, to be honest. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
the one kind of interesting thing there is this is actually something we really expected from the beginning is that especially for like the winning faction, that faction members are kind of competing against each other as well to get more entries into the raffle so that they have a better chance of winning the raffle at the end of the week rather than their teammates. So especially amongst the winning team, and now it will be amongst people that are trying to go for that flip pot. There is actually kind of incentives, for people to kind of on their own team to kind of play against each other there too, which has been kind of interesting to see.
yeah, so I think Drew had mentioned a bit more that he wanted to get into the economics of the game? I think you might have touched on it a little bit, but anything further you wanted to dive into?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is kind of what sets City Clash apart from a lot of other play to earn games, right? There are a lot of play to earn games out there that are kind of thinly veiled staking, right? You're basically just staking your NFT to get some meager yield somewhere. We have spent a lot of time thinking through iterating on our economic loops in City Clash, and we're really happy with what we've came up with. So our mint cost for a city is 0.07 ETH. And out of that, 0.05 immediately just goes right into the treasury. And so our treasury currently is deposited into the Magic Ethereum LP on SushiSwap, which is yielding crazy APRs, between 50 and 150%, depending on the price of Magic and the activity levels that day. And that's mainly because of subsidies by TreasureDAO. And so we get that that's not sustainable forever, but there will be significant subsidies through 2023. And so that allows us to generate yield on this big combined City Clash treasury. And each week we pay out 75% of that yield as the weekly raffle, but then 12.5% of that goes back into the treasury, to kind of speed up that growth. And then the majority of our secondary market transaction fees also go into that treasury to try to keep the flywheel just accelerating faster and faster. And because of the recent appreciation of Magic, the current value per NFT that we hold in our treasury is actually higher than the mint cost of 0.07 ETH. And so we just have this really sound economic model to make sure that our NFTs are truly valuable. People aren't just speculating on an idea. That it's basically betting on Magic because our treasury is largely there. It's betting on Ethereum, and then if those things grow, City Clash just keeps flourishing. The economics just get better. It makes cities more valuable. More trading on City Clash makes the treasury that much bigger, and the wheel goes round and round. And so we've created something that we think is really compelling, both strategically and economically.
Oh yeah, that is really fun. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. I think, yeah, the economics, as you mentioned, is really playing a huge role. And I guess the other part of a game, I mean, this is more blatant, but the design aspect in terms of, like city customization, or yeah, I guess more personalization of the game for individual users. Do we have any rundown about that, or any plans for the future?
Let's see. I mean, I'll say kind of how we designed the game is to just make it very evident, like what's going on in the game. And so you can actually see that in the NFTs themselves. So each NFT is a city, but the NFT visually shows the country that that city is in. It shows the color of the country, like which faction owns that country. And then it will show you your faction color on the city itself. And those are the parts that will actually change dynamically on the NFT, and that's all handled on chain. Where if you trade, someone from another faction buys your city, or say the green faction takes over the country your city's in, all of a sudden your NFT will dynamically change to have that green color that shows it's not owned by your faction anymore. So that's one of the kind of things design wise we try to do, is like just make it very evident like what's going on. And it's kind of cool how even on like the NFT marketplace, you can see like which factions are owning what countries, what cities, and things like that. And then the other thing that we've done is on our website, we kind of have a game map. It's kind of like our game board, and it allows you to kind of go through, check out different countries, see what cities are in them, see which factions own them, and kind of give you a state of the map, and see like how many points are owned by the red faction, the green faction, the blue faction. So you can kind of almost dive in to see like, okay, if I make some strategic moves here, buy up this city that's worth this many points, I can then change this country to go to my faction and win it for my team. So that's been one of the things, is just trying to make it really evident what's going on in the game, allowing people to easily make those strategic moves. As far as like personalization kind of things, I mean, the city is kind of, it stays like like that with the different faction colors. There's not really necessarily personalizing it, other than we did have this other NFT collection that was kind of the previous, our first collection as a part of City Clash was these towers. And towers are used in that you can upgrade your city with a tower. And so you actually burn your tower NFT to upgrade the number of points that your city is worth. And so that's another way that you can strategically do things, is kind of burn a tower into your city, upgrade your city to make it more valuable for your team, and you can kind of choose when strategically it makes sense to do that. So it's kind of another part of the game that just adds another layer of strategy, but it allows you kind of upgrade cities in different ways.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add, just on the personalization side, it has been cool to see over and over again the excitement when somebody realizes their real world hometown is in City Clash. So our data set used the biggest 3,000 cities in the world with a couple modifications, but so it's all real cities. The suburb, the little suburb that I grew up in, happens to be in City Clash just because it fit that criteria. And so it's really special to somebody finds out, wow, my suburb in Germany is a City Clash City NFT that I can go buy. I happen to own Vancouver, and I have a couple of Vancouver people already saying, "Hey, Drew, I want to buy Vancouver off of you." And so that's I think the coolest personalization aspect on top of the towers that Noah mentioned.
Right. Yeah. There is, of course, that uh, pulling on the heartstrings a little bit, right? I'm gonna have to go check if my hometown is in there now. But any plans, and I guess to add even more cities?
Absolutely. We will. So right now we have 3,000 cities available, and most of those are still not minted yet. And so there's a lot of cities that are built into City Clash that we have the metadata and the NFT images and everything generated for, that haven't come out yet. Um, if we hit that 3,000 city level, I think we can absolutely see going to smaller and smaller cities in the world at some point. But I think that we are pretty set on just like sticking up with real world cities. I don't think we're going to start making up bigger cities or something like that.
Okay, love that. So I think we should open up the floor to some of our audience members. If anyone has any questions for City Clash founders. But other than that, I'm trying to see. I did have one question personally. So when I go to mint a city, I'm selecting the city that I want to mint, correct? It's not like a random mint.
So when you mint a city, it actually is totally random, and the reason there is the point values of each city in City Clash are different, and it's all based on real world data. And so Seoul, South Korea would be worth significantly more than the little suburb that I grew up in, and for that reason, you can't choose. You'd mint, and then you could or go out on secondary and try to buy the specific city that you're looking for, but otherwise you get a random city.
Okay, gotcha. All right, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess because you'd want them all to eventually get minted, and that could happen if you don't have someone from that hometown. Oh man. Okay. Sounds good. And when you mentioned about the suburbs too, I'm like thinking, so Vancouver, it's not just the city of Vancouver, there's also sort of like the surrounding smaller towns that are also being minted. If am I correct in asking that?
Yeah, that's mostly true. It's just basically any cities, municipalities in the world that have had big enough populations to make the top 3,000. And so it won't necessarily be every single little neighborhood or borough of a big city like that. But a lot of maybe like a second ring or third ring, the bigger second and third ring suburbs are almost certainly going to make it in a city like that.
Awesome. Okay, so any, I guess, other alpha that you can drop to our open to Arbitrum campaign audience here that we can see any like sort of upgrades that are coming up to the game or new economics?
Absolutely. I think right now our push in City Clash, we have a great foundation. Things are just working. We're just pushing to make the whole protocol entirely decentralized. And so back before Mint, we partnered with Chainlink, and they were not anywhere near ready on the timeline that they thought they would be ready on Arbitrum. But that's finally coming to fruition, and so we're excited as part of our decentralization push to move our raffles and our randomness over, to make that fully decentralized in that way. It's worked out fine as is so far, but as City Clash continues to scale, as Treasure continues to scale, that robustness, that decentralization is really important to us. So I think that's the biggest point I'd add.
Great. Well, I guess thanks for. I want to give a shout out to the Real Tuna as well as one of our Arbitrum community members that suggested that we have you guys join in on this campaign. And I think it clearly was a really good suggestion. So shout out to the Real Tuna, and just want to thank you guys for joining and letting us know more about this like incredible opportunity that is on Arbitrum. We're really excited to see how you guys grow. I'm again excited to see if my city is available on City Clash.
Yeah, thanks so much. This was great.
Yeah, really fun. I guess we'll let you guys know who's the winners too. We have 5 winners from our audience today, which is a lot. So thanks so much for providing those prizes as well.
Awesome. Thank you for the time, Amanda. Thank you for the great questions, and excited for Arbitrum to keep growing. When that wins, we all win.
Seriously. Yeah. Yeah, thank you guys so much. And yeah, we'll talk soon.
All right. Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.